Bridge the Gap Ministry, a live hour-long webcast where we will be talking about what makes us different, what we have in common, and how we bridge the gap. This is a casual conversation powered by webcastonelive.com. Let's get started. Now your host, Mike Ahmed.
Well, hello everybody. I'm glad we're back here together again on webcastonelive.com. And today has been a great day. I hope you had a great week. God is good, always good. As I always say, God is good, and I always repeat after me all the time. God is good all the time. And, today that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about God, and we're going to talk about his prophet Elijah. I mean, have you ever been in a place where where is God? Where is God? And we grow up in a society today. You can see it all over, all around us. Everything is instantaneous. I mean, if you have an internet, 1.5 megabyte, you want, 5, you want 4, you want 3, you want 2. I mean, I went the other day, redid our account for a 20 megabyte, and you can't wait until they have zillion megabyte. where when you're surfing, you're just putting something on to research for them, bam, it's right there. Just don't have to wait for it anymore. And everything is that way. I mean, you notice it in the traffic, how people drive. You notice it in how they talk to each other. You notice it on in the service area, and you eat. It's about fast food. It's about fast. Let's just get it. Let's get it done. Like, I think our intention, baby, is to try to make that 24 hours last longer. I mean, everybody got the same 24 hours, but how you utilize it, yeah, there is a skills in time management, and you should have that. But that impatience is what's really is taking a toll on society today. It's taking a toll on me. It's taking a toll on the people I deal with. It's taking a toll on everything we conduct in life. I mean, you notice how fast it's been? I mean, did you remember last year? Gosh, that went by so fast.
Went by very fast.
It was. I mean, I remember it was, before I know it, I mean, it was Christmas again. It was New Year again. I mean, it's 2013. We're moving in such a fast track that it's really making us lose connection with reality. Reality is about enjoying life, is about enjoying people. It's about enjoying the presence of God. He's not going to be at the push of a button on your computer. You can't just, bam, here he is. God.
There's no God.com.
God.com. Yeah, that would be the Bible. God.com, but we need a faster internet connection than that. So just, okay, God, before I pray, before I think of my prayer, you better answer it, that kind of stuff, And, and the Bible tells us, those that wait upon the Lord, they will renew their strength like eagles. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will renew their strength. They will run and not faint. They will walk and not be weary. Wait. That's the word I've been getting for today's show. I mean, wait. We got to wait on the Lord. So that's really my topic today is learn to wait. How do we learn to wait? And my friend, don't feel alone in this. Don't feel alone that you're impatient, because we're all on the same page. As a matter of fact, we can go back thousands of years prior to us having the show, and we can find someone that even had struggled with the weight on the Lord as well. Well, let's bring our Bibles today and let's turn to 1 Kings chapter 17. It's going to be a great night. I'm looking forward to our talk tonight. I hope you had a great time with me last week. I tell you, last week was phenomenal. I mean, I really enjoyed the message afterward, and it was a touch from heaven on my behalf because I came. Honestly, I just had a writer block. I tried. I mean, I was, like I told you last week, I was faced with some situation that I had to cancel the show. And then I came back, I'm excited about the same materials I had, and I was just like, that's not the direction God is going, and I couldn't have any clue where I was going with it, but God came through. And he was amazing. I hope like me. I mean, God really spoke that to me. But really, this is God's message. God loves you so much. I look forward to be his mouthpiece. I'm looking forward to speak as an oracle of God because that's what he promised. For he has anointed me to speak the word of reconciliation to you. And that's what Bridge the Gap ministry is all about, is to bridge the gap between God and people, is to bridge the gap between people and them and each other. And, to be able to put away our differences and know that we have one common ground. That is God, the creator of heaven and earth, the Lord of lords and the King of kings. He's the one that in everything, you look around, the trees, you look around the ocean, you look around the snow, you look around the mountains, you look everywhere, the sun, the sky. We have a common ground, and that's who God is. And he's given us, he trusted us with the ministry of reconciliation. My greatest enjoyment is mentoring others, is sharing with them the salvation that I have, the relationship that I have with God. And that's what God, that's how we multiply, and we have that fellowship, and we end up with a lot more strength when we come together. So I hope I give you enough time to turn to 1 Kings chapter 17. And we're going to be talking about Elijah tonight. So feel free to join in the chat. And I have my lovely wife with me tonight. And, of course, our producer, Ryan, is there. And or give us a call at 1-855-244-0077. We love to hear from you. How would you wait on God? How do you view the word waiting or the word being patient? How do you get what is your opinion on the word patience? Someone told me before, Lana, says every time I pray for patience, I get attacked with stuff that to lose my cool all the time. I said, that's how you get trained for patience. And this is just like when you go to the gym, you want to grow a muscle bigger, you gotta push it a little harder. And so anytime you pray about patience, you're going to be pushed a little harder to develop patience. So I will advise you, you don't need to be praying about patience because patience is a fruit of the Spirit. So start fellowshipping with God, get in the presence of God, get to know God, and that character will come from that fellowship, and it is a fruit of the Spirit. So it'll come. And I know for sure when I know when my my God fuel tank, everybody got a fuel tank. You got a fuel tank in your car. Everybody does. And you know how you can tell when you're going to run out of fuel or you're getting close to run out of fuel, you have that little light comes on, right?
Some people know that they're going to run out of gas. Others do not.
Oh! Okay.
We know somebody that ran out of gas this week.
Yes.
That's where that comment came from.
Yes,
Let
that's
everybody
what-
in on the secret.
Yes. We're not going to let everybody on the secret in case that person is watching.
Right.
Anyway, you will know that you're going to run out of fuel if you look at that gauge. You get low. Well, the gauge for running out of God fuel, that's what I call it, God fuel, is I start having less patience. That's how I know, because it is a fruit of the Spirit. And so anyway, you got your Bible with you. Let's turn to to 1 Kings chapter 17. We're talking about Elijah, but I'll give you a little background. In chapter 16, verse 29, that Ahab became king over Israel. And, Israel at that time, there has been over 200 years where just Israel has been back and forth, and many kings. There was several kings, and probably was less than 2% of them that followed God, and the rest of them were not. And Israel got divided between the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, which is Judea. And Ahab became a king in Israel at that time, and he was married to Jezebel. And Jezebel, she didn't care. She didn't like God, and she had other gods in her mind. She had Baal and Asherah, and and Ahab himself followed her ways. And Ahab built temples and altars for Baal, and they set up Asherah poles, and they provoked the anger of the Lord God of Israel than any of the other kings. That's what the Bible tells us there in chapter 16 of 1 Kings, beginning with verse 29. And all of this happened, and but yet God still trying to bring Israel around, regardless of what Ahab and Jezebel was and how they were. Still, God is trying to wooing them and trying to bring them. So it came now about Elijah. Elijah was one of those prophets. He was a prophet of prophets. You've heard that term before, like he's the guy.
A man's man.
A man's man. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
Mm-hmm.
He was a man's man. Elijah was a prophet of prophets. He had it. The presence of God was on him. His word will never, will never go unnoticed. God honored Elijah's word, and God was in his life. Elijah didn't just, he didn't have a jet, to take him from one place to another. There is so many stories about him. I liked it. When I was traveling for a ministry, I did have an airplane, and because I had so many meetings, and I, needed also to be able to come to my children when they're in need, when they were younger. But I didn't have a jet. I had a small plane. But there are others have jet. But Elijah didn't have a jet. He had God. Literally, he was translated from one place. God will pick him up and take him and go somewhere else, miles away. He didn't even have to have that jet lag, and he didn't have to check into airports. He didn't have to carry luggage. He was just, let's go. He's gone. And as a matter of fact, we're going to see some people made a comment on that in the story. But he was a prophet of prophets. So Elijah said to Ahab, that's one of the things I like him. Yeah, I like about Elijah. He wasn't afraid of anybody, just like me. I'm not afraid of you. He wasn't afraid of anybody. So he told King Ahab, He said in chapter 17, beginning with verse 1, he says, "As surely as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, the God I serve, there will be no dew or rain during the next few years until I give the word." Woo! Like that. That's an attitude. You like that, don't you?
Like sassy attitudes.
Yes, Elijah was. Then the Lord said to him, "Go to the east and hide in the Kerith Brook, near where it enters the Jordan River. Drink from the brook and eat what the ravens bring you, for I have commanded them to bring you food." So Elijah did as the Lord had told him and camped beside Kerith Brook, east of the Jordan. The ravens brought him bread and meat each morning and evening, and he drank from the brook. And after a while, the brook dried up, for there was no rainfall anywhere in the land. Well, he already says you're not going to have rain. But, that's awesome. I like my new waitresses. Ravens, those are nice. Those are nice waitresses.
Probably poop on the table.
No, they don't. They're not that bad. They brought the food. I'm sure they brought, the apron and the whole works.
Okay.
They were good. It was God to give them the command. So they're going to do a good job. Yeah, I know that. I know that for sure. I never had a raven for a waitress. Have you? Did you ever have a raven for a waitress? I didn't. So how would you know? There you go. Can't answer that.
I've had raven-haired waitresses.
Raven-haired.
You don't even know what that means.
No, I don't know.
It's the color of hair.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyway, so it dried. But then the Lord told him, he says, "Go live in a village near this city," and instructed he said, God said to him, "I instructed a widow there to feed you." It's just, that's the thing about God. You could really, and that's one thing I noticed about God and in His Word. When you have a relationship with God, you better not put Him in a box. You better not say, "Okay, God did it this way before, He's going to do it this way. God said it this way once before, so He's going to repeat it again." Or God is always going to do it this way. Don't fool yourself. God is as sassy as anybody comes. And He's God. He's got every right in the world. He can't. That's one thing God fights is box. Can't put Him in a box. You can't say, "I predict Him to do this," or "I predict Him to do that." There are certain things that God obligates Himself. God will never lie. He said that. And He says also, "I'll never tempt man." So those are the boxes that God put Himself in, but you can't put Him in any other one. So, here it is. You can see right there, He provided him through the ravens, and now He's saying, "I have instructed a widow woman to feed you." And look at what happened. Then He goes there, find a widow woman, gathering sticks. See, I'm not going to read, so you can follow along as you read. Gathering sticks to cook herself a meal, and he says, "Hey, what are you doing? Are we gathering?" She said, "I'm gathering sticks, so me and my son can eat, and we have just a little bit of flour and a little bit oil left on the bottom of the jar, and just a little bit to just make one small meal for my son and I so we can die." That drought is so bad. And Elijah says, "Hey, go get me a cup of water. And by the way, also make me something to eat first before you and your son eat." And she said, "We just had a little bit just so we can die." He said, "Don't worry about it. Just make me what I ask you to do. And God will make that you will always have flowers and you'll always have olive oil, that you're never going to run out." That's what He said to her. Sure enough, the Bible tells us in chapter 17, that's exactly what happened. They ate, all three of them, all the time and never ran out. God is good, my friend. God is good, always good. Just don't put him in a box. We will hear a word from our sponsor, who I love so much. And I hope you don't go away. We'll be right back.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I'm administrative manager
I am the senior technician.
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Welcome back to Bridge the Gap Ministry. We believe Jesus is God and wants you to join His kingdom and our conversation at 1-855-244-0077. Now here's our host, Mike Ahmed.
Well, praise God. I'm glad we can continue with this amazing story. I mean, so she did. I mean, she obeyed him. She obeyed the prophet of God, and I'm glad that she did, because later on her son got sick and actually died, and she came and she told him, and he took her son from her and prayed and raised him from the dead. I mean, that's the kind of relationship Elijah had with God. I mean, he's even his prayer and his conversation with God has just showed me how close God is to him. And I wish you read it for yourself. But for the sake of time, my focus is on chapter 18 and 19. And then what happened after that? You know, we find the rest of the story as it goes on. There was. During the famine, and it became so severe, and he made and Ahab made Obadiah in charge of the palace. But Obadiah was devoted follower of the Lord, and when Jezebel had tried to kill the prophets, because that's Jezebel was. I mean, she is against God all the way. She tried to kill the prophets, and Obadiah hid 100 of them in 2 caves, and supplied them with food and water. Anyway, and the story went on. Then actually Obadiah ran into Elijah at one place, and basically Elijah said to him, "Hey, go tell Ahab I'm here," because Ahab and Jezebel is looking for him, to kill him. I mean, he stopped the rain. He caused a famine. And Obadiah didn't want to do it. He says, Ahab will kill me because I know you'll be gone. I mean, he said to him, he said, I tell you the truth. Let's see. He said, now you say, go, tell your master Elijah is here, verse 12. But as soon as I leave you, the Spirit of the Lord will carry you away to who knows where. And when Ahab comes and cannot find you, he will kill me. See? He had that. Zap me up, Scotty.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Oh, beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah.
What is it? What was that? Star Wars. Star Wars.
Star Trek.
Star.
Maybe you should just read from the Bible and stop trying to be current.
I'm trying to be cool.
Only your hat is cool.
You like my hat?
I like it a lot.
Yeah, I like my hat. It keeps my head warm. I like it. It's better than my hair. Right?
Yeah. Those 3 strands don't keep your head warm?
No, they don't. I don't know why my hair was wavy. Waved goodbye to me. I don't know. But anyway, so he told him, then I'm not going to find you. So Elijah made him a promise that he was going to stick around, that he's going to wait. So he went and he told him. Then Obadiah went and told him. So verse 16, so Obadiah went and told Ahab that Elijah had come, and Ahab went out to meet Elijah. When Ahab saw him, he exclaimed, so it is really you, you troublemaker of Israel. Look at verse 18. Elijah answered, he says, I have made no trouble for Israel. You, King Ahab, and your family are troublemakers, for you have refused to obey the commands of the Lord and have worshipped the images of Baal instead. Now, summon all Israel to join me at Mount Carmel, along with the 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah who are supported by Jezebel. Whoa, that's a showdown. I mean, God told him earlier in the chapter to go and present himself to Ahab, or, the Lord told him in chapter 18, it says, later, he said, the Lord told him, he says, go and present yourself to Ahab and tell him I will soon send rain. But, so Elijah was like, first of all, I had the conversation with the king. He says, no, you're the troublemaker. You refused to obey God. You refused, you turn your back on God, and you and Jezebel, you have 850 prophets. I mean, Ahab and Jezebel built them temples, altars. I mean, they were set out to turn the heart of Israel, all God's covenant people, away from God. That's what they were sent out to do. And Elijah had no shy in his bone. He was not afraid of nobody. He says, no, you're the troublemaker, Ahab. And as a matter of fact, go get all Israel and get all 850 prophets, all right here, and I'll meet with you all. This is just going to be the showdown. You and all your 850 prophets against me. 1 against 850. Whoa, I like that a lot. That's an unfair. That's really unfair, isn't it? 1 against 850. But you know what? When God is on your side, it's not fair for them. Elijah knew that. Elijah knew that it was not going to be fair for them. He wasn't worried about it. Ahab was like, I have no problem. Gosh, I mean, one of my prophets, one of those prophets of Baal or Asherah will take you down, or at least a couple of hundred. Well, guess what? You have 850 against Elijah. Somebody's going to be able to do something. And probably Ahab was thought, oh, that's not fair. That's not fair for Elijah. But he really hated Elijah so bad, and him and his wife Jezebel. So it was just, they thought that's no big deal. So they did. Verse 20, so Ahab summoned all the people of Israel and the prophets to Mount Carmel. And then Elijah stood in the front of them and says, how much longer will you waver, hobbling between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, then follow him. That's basically his claim. He just wanted people. Okay, make up your mind. Make up your mind. If the Lord is God, then follow him. If Baal, then follow him. Stop hobbling around between two opinions, back and forth, back and forth. This is ridiculous. Make up your mind, my friend. Make up your mind. Do you have who is God? Is God, or you are God, or Baal is God, or your job is God, or your parents is God, or your government is God? Make up your mind. Who is your God? That's the message. That's the word. Who is God? Make up your mind. If the Lord is God, then worship him. Then believe in him. That's all he wants from you. He wants you to believe in him. If it's not, then somebody else. So be it. Just stop going back and forth. And that's what he told Israel. And that same message goes for us today. I mean, many times we'll just go off. I mean, we've been Christians for so long. We've seen God's hands moves into our lives, and then all of a sudden, something else was working for us, and we just turn and this is going to work for me. This is going to work for me. And then when it's not working, then I go back to God. When something else is working, I just stick with it. That's hobbling. That's just going back and forth. That's make up your mind. I think there was one song I was going to sing. I was going to put on. A friend of mine wanted me to officiate his wedding. Anyway, I don't want to give it away. But there was a song I was going to play for him. What was that song? Do you remember it?
I don't remember.
Make up your mind. What? Maybe Ryan would know, but
no, I don't know.
No, you don't know. It was you're in or you're out. You're hot or you're cold.
Oh, Katy Perry.
Yeah, it was Katy Perry. I should have played that song. It wouldn't have been a good song to play on the show. But that's the song came to my mind when I was reading this. When Elijah says, make up your mind. You're hobbling between two opinions. If God is God, make up your mind. You're hot, you're cold. God himself says this. Make up your mind. Neither you're hot, neither you're cold. Because, but if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. He said that in the book of Revelation. Because really, it's for our good. It's for our good. To have our conviction, to have our mind made up, and trust God and believe Him. Believe Him. He will come through for you. Look at what's happening here. Let's follow the story. Elijah said this to the people, but the people were completely silent. They really couldn't answer. Then Elijah said to them in verse 22, I am the only prophet of the Lord who is left, but Baal has 400 prophets. He said, now bring 2 bulls. The prophets of Baal may choose whichever one they wish, and cut it into pieces and lay it on the wood of their altar, but without setting fire to it. And he says, I will prepare the other bull and also set it on the altar, but I will not light fire to it. Then call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord. The God who answers by setting fire to the wood is a true God. And all the people agreed. He says, that's fair. So then Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, you go first, for there are so many of you. Choose one of the bulls and prepare it and call on the name of your God, but don't set fire to the wood. So they prepared one of the bulls and placed it on the altar. Then they called on the name of Baal from morning until noontime, shouting, "O Baal, answer us." But there was no reply of any kind. Then they danced, hoppling around the altar that they have made. And about noontime, Elijah began mocking them, or in my translation, started trash talking them. He started some trash talk. I like that. He said, you have to shout louder. He said, for surely he is a god. Perhaps he's daydreaming or relieving himself. Taking a poop.
I got it.
Or maybe he is away on a trip or asleep and needs to be waking up. You should shout louder. And they shouted louder. And as their normal custom, they cut themselves with knives and with swords until blood was gushing out. And they did that all afternoon until the evening, but there was no sound, no reply, and no response. I like his trash talking. Maybe he's asleep. Maybe he's taking a nap. Maybe shout a little louder. Maybe he will wake up. Maybe he's sitting on the throne. Maybe he's this. Maybe he's that. He was just, I like Elijah. I'm so glad I'm talking about Elijah. 850 prophets in the front of him, and the king of Israel, and all the people of Israel, and he's just standing right there, just egging it on. I like that. That's somebody trust God. And I'm not saying to you, hey, tomorrow go back to work and all your heathen workers and says, come on, bring it on. Come on. Let's have this showdown, Let's see. Let me prove to you that there is God, that God is God. And you want to call a miracle. You got to be called into this. Elijah was called into it. And I'm not saying God wouldn't do it for you. If God inspire you, to show off for God, that would be fine. I mean, I don't know. I know what happened to me, a couple of times on a mission trip. I mean, we were in Egypt, and we were holding the first public. I consider it a mini crusade, a small crusade. Maybe it's not a right word for it. What would be the right word for it? It was a revival meeting, but it was a public. It was allowed. We were able to actually get approved, and we rented an auditorium. It's called Ramses College, and we were able to speak freely. And that was many years ago. And Islam, it's a dominated by Islam country, and I'm a convert from Islam to Christianity, and it was against the law. But there was a period during Mubarak where God moved on our behalf, and we didn't we didn't have to be as afraid because he kept, the extremists under check because God answered the prayers concerning that. I mean, I'll tell you when we come back, but it's time for another break. Don't go away. I'll tell you some more when we come back. It'll be a minute.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. And he said not only would he like to be a sponsor, but he would offer a $100 tithe for every customer that came and bought a car from him directly to the church of your choice. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Welcome back to Bridge the Gap Ministry. We believe Jesus is God and want you to join His kingdom and our conversation at 1-855-244-0077. Now here's our host, Mike Ahmed.
Okay. All right. Then it was Elijah's turn. I mean, they waited. I mean, these prophets, the 450 of them of Baal prophets, shouting, cutting themselves from morning till evening. So it was Elijah's turn. Then Elijah says, "Come here." And all the crowd around him came, and while he's at the altar, and he took 12 stones, one to represent each tribe of Israel, and he used the stones to rebuild the altar in the name of the Lord. Then he dug a trench around the altar large enough to hold at least 3 gallons of water. Then he piled wood on the altar. He cut the bowl into pieces and laid it on the pieces of the wood. Then he says, "Go fill 4 large jars with water and pour the water over the offering and the wood." What? Wait a minute. Anybody with any physics knowledge doesn't even have to. I mean, an uneducated person knows the greatest enemy of fire is water. I mean, pouring water on the wood to set fire, that doesn't work, does it? Have you ever tried?
No, sounds crazy.
I mean, if you ever wanted to light a fire, you got to make sure that wood is dry. You got to make sure it doesn't have any kind of moisture to catch a fire. And you got to pour gasoline on it, not water. Elijah, what is the matter with you? What is the matter with you? He's showing off, obviously. Then not only that, as soon as they done this, he says, go bring me some more. 4 more jars. And pour them, and the water ran around the altar and even filled the trenches. I mean, he did it 3 times. He had 12 jugs of water pouring on that altar, on the sacrifice, and on the wood, and on the stones, and it trenched. I mean, it was trenched, obviously, because it just ran down into the trenches that he made. And at the usual time of the offering in the evening sacrifice, Elijah the prophet walked up to the altar and prayed, O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, prove today that you are God in Israel and that I am your servant. Prove that I have done all this at your command. O Lord, answer me. Answer me so these people will know that you, O Lord, are God and that you have brought them back to yourself. Immediately, look at this, immediately the fire of the Lord flashed down from heaven and burned up the young bull, the wood, the stones, and the dust, and even licked up the water in the trenches. And when the people saw all of it, they fell face down to the ground and cried out, the Lord, He is God. Yes, the Lord, He is God. Then Elijah commanded, seize all the prophets of Baal. Don't let a single one of them escape. So the people seized them all, and Elijah took them down to Kishon Valley and killed them there. That's my kind of guy. I mean, not for the part of killing, but that just...
Thanks for the clarification on that one.
Make sure of that. Well, I mean, we can look at that today. And, you know, basically taking and getting rid of Baal's prophets is just like getting rid of our idols in our lives. Getting rid of our, you know, dependency on other things than God. I mean, God didn't say that, you know, you can't work and provide for yourself and your family, but God wants you to believe that He is God. He is in the beautiful day that you see, or even the gloomy day that you see, that He's in a situation that you're facing today, or He's in the happiness that He brought on you today. He wants you to know that. And Elijah got rid of that. Elijah got rid of that. And then he says, then after that, we find out that that God instructed. I mean, after Elijah got rid of that and Israel turned back to God, because it is to their benefit that they turn back to God and confess Him as their king. Well, you know, the rest of the story shows that they really didn't last for very long. I mean, after that heavy demonstrations, that amazing demonstrations, still, you know, Ahab continued with them that way. And then God told him that, go have some to drink and eat. And Elijah said to Ahab, he says, Go get something to eat and to drink, for I hear a mighty rainstorm coming. So Ahab went, had some to eat and to drink, but Elijah climbed on the top of Mount Carmel and bowed low to the ground and prayed with his face between his knees. And he said to his servant, go and look outward the sea. And the servant came and looked and returned. He says, I don't see anything. 7 times Elijah told him. See, that's the patience we're talking about. 7 times Elijah told his servant to go and to look. Finally, the seventh time, his servant told him, I saw a little cloud about the size of a man's hand rising from the sea. Then Elijah shouted, hurry to Ahab and tell him, climb into your chariot and go back home. If you don't hurry, the rain will stop you. As soon as the sky was black with clouds, the heavy wind brought terrific rainstorm, and Ahab left quickly for Jezreel. Then the Lord gave a special strength to Elijah. It says he tucked his cloak into his belt and ran ahead of Ahab's chariot all the way to the entrance of Jezreel. I like that. Don't have to get in the car and start the car. Whoop, like Mario. Remember those little cartoons, Mario? No. Anyway. And then here is something was amazing. God, Elijah, who just had an amazing show, an amazing demonstrations of his faith, made a couple of great stories about him and raising the little boy from the dead, the widow woman, and making that widow woman have food as long as they were there, never ran out. I mean, that woman was going to die, and she didn't die. Her son died, and he raised him from the dead, made provisions for them from nothing, and had a great encounter. I mean, trash talk the prophets of Baal. I mean, challenge, talk back at the king. And he had all these boldness. But look at chapter 19. Then Ahab got home. He told Jezebel everything Elijah had done, including the way he had killed all the prophets of Baal. So Jezebel sent this message to Elijah, and she says, may the gods, with a little g, strike me and even kill me if by this time tomorrow I have not killed you, if I have not killed you, just as you killed them. Elijah was afraid and fled for his life and went to Beersheba. She scared him. He just got scared. And he left, and the rest of the story goes on how did God was talking to him. Elijah went, he had a low. He had what I call depression. He went into depression. He went to sleep. He laid down and went to sleep. But the angel kept on waking him up, and he says, get up and eat. And the angel brought him food, and he eat. And then he fall asleep. He was depressed. Jezebel depressed him by her threat to him. I don't know if maybe you have a Jezebel in your life right now. Jezebel doesn't have to be Ahab's wife. A Jezebel is a spirit. Is a spirit that is on a person that discourages you. You've done a marvelous job, at your job or done something great, and you come to tell someone about it, and and they just look at you, look down on you, or discourage you, or just don't give a crap, or just or says you were stupid for doing that, even though you've done something great. It's a spirit of Jezebel. It's a spirit of discouragement. It's out there for everybody. I don't know if you've ever faced it, but that's what it is. And you have that right to cast that spirit out of your life by having faith in God and in what He's just done. I tell you something. Last week, well, I forgot to finish my story of what happened in Egypt. Well, we'll get back to that story. Remind me, I got to finish that story.
Okay, maybe next week.
That other story?
Yeah.
The first one?
Are you going to have enough time?
I think so.
Okay.
We'll have time. Okay. So, anyway, last week, I told you, that the week before what happened with me, why did we have to cancel the show? And last week, I been working and been seeking God on the message. I know the materials from the week before. I know, the word. And and I just had a writer's block. Just couldn't. And I think I told you that. Had a writer's block. It was just I know it was a spirit of, I know there was that same a discouraging spirit that was just trying to take over. And pushed through it, and God came through, and it was amazing time. I enjoyed my time on the show with you. I enjoyed the presence of God. I enjoyed the word that was spoken, and because it was a word in season. And as I'm leaving, I was just thanking God. I said, Lord, thank you so much. But I was thanking Him in a way like I was like He was, doing me a favor. I was like, thank you for, coming through for me. Man, I was really heavy. My wife came home and saw how bad I was. My ears were hot. I was upset. I had no clue. And I'm the type of person, at least give me a clue. God, what are you going to talk about, please? I want to know. So I'm prepared. So, and I love accountability. I'm accountable to the people here on the show. I'm accountable to you. I'm accountable to our sponsor. I've got to put everything into it. And I just not, my stock can't, you just come in with no clue like this. It was hard. And yet God came through mighty, and it was amazing. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time with you. Anyway, as I'm leaving, and then I just said, I was just thanking God. Thank you for coming through for me, Lord. Thank you for coming through for everybody. It was awesome. Thank you for a great time. Thank you for your presence. Thanking Him. And all of a sudden, I hear that whisper in my heart, and it was like, no, thank you. I was like, what? And He said, no, thank you. You were speaking on my behalf. He just made me feel that's how God will make you. And that's what Elijah was coming to. God sending him an angel to sustain him. Going back to my story back in Egypt, where we got that meeting, going. It was the first public meeting ever in Egypt, and we were teaching. I was preaching right there, and then some of the people that was helping me in the meetings, and I had other pastors from here, from the United States. They came and they says the police is out there. There's a whole platoon of them out there to come in to arrest us. And it was packed, thousands, hundreds, I don't know how many people were in the meetings. And I said, don't worry about it. And I just continued to teaching because I know God is God. My friend, I learned about faith and patience in God, with God. Those are the three things. Faith. He said, Jesus says, even as small as a mustard seed, you can move mountains with it. And as those troops walked in, my friend, in the middle aisle coming our way, by the time they were the middle, right, just not very far from where I am at, a bunch of them. I don't know how big the platoon was. They start like they're stepping over a threshold of some kind, disappear. The next step they take, it's just God maintained that distance between me and them. They kept disappearing. And people witnessed that. Another time, I went to speak in another place in Egypt. I got arrested. The cops and both arms and taking me away from. I had people, pastors I take with me on these mission trips, and as we stepped outside, and I just the Spirit of God, that faith, that that God says just came on me, and I just shook my arms off of them, and I says, get out of here, and turned my back, walked back into the meeting. Everybody watched that. My friend, you and God are majority. That's all you need to know. I love you. May God bless you. May his face shine upon you and gives you peace and favor. Until next week, you stay encouraged. Don't let that spirit of Jezebel, the spirit of discouragement, threaten you or frighten you or worries you ever. Because God is good all the time. Bye-bye.